So I get a lot of DMs on Instagram, a lot of comments on Instagram, what's a good beginner camera. But the truth is, it doesn't really matter which camera you get, because any camera in the market is pretty good these days. Like in my opinion, it's like I think you should just get a camera that you can afford. Just get any camera, because from my personal experience, the first camera I got is a Sony a6400, and I'm still using that camera right now. And the reason why I picked that camera because I followed this big YouTuber photographer named North Borders, and he just recommended two cameras, the Canon 80D and the Sony a6400. And I just randomly picked the Sony a6400, even though I didn't know much about the specs and all that, because I think what gives me indication, I feel like a lot of people are just procrastinating on what camera they want. Like I think like they get overwhelmed on the type of cameras they want. Like they get overwhelmed like, oh, this has this amount of megapixels, this can record in 4K, this has really good dynamic range and all of that. And the truth is, if you're a beginner photographer, it doesn't really matter. Just get any camera, because if you get any camera right, you'll understand how a camera works. Because I think right now, as a beginner photographer, is you just want to get in the habit of taking photos and enjoy the process of taking photos. Because I think a lot of like beginner photographers out there don't really sort of get overwhelmed. They get caught up like, they sort of want like a perfect camera that will like able to take banger photos. But in my opinion, to take good photos, it takes time. It's not the camera, it's the photographer. You gotta develop the skill as a photographer. Because from my experience, I've been like, when I first got into photography, there was a period of my time where I was only taking photos on my phone. There was a time when and if you scroll like to the bottom of my Instagram page, I was taking photos on my phone, and the phone I use is like a Samsung S20 FE. And even like when I like do those Instagram reels on my Instagram account about how I do my phone photography tips, I even get DMs or comments about, oh, was a good phone photography camera. I'm just like, bro, it doesn't really matter. Any camera works. Even modern phones are good to take photos. Just use your phone. I think what you want to do first is develop the habits of taking photos. So if you read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, right, I remember him saying that like in order to get better at a particular skill, you got to get in the habit of doing the action, because the key of getting better at photography, you got to take action. Like even you consume a lot of knowledge on YouTube about how to take photos, you got to go out there and actually do the work. How else you gonna learn? The only way you learn is by actually physically picking up the camera or your phone and just take photos. Like the reason why I was able to develop my skill as a photographer by actually going out there and taking photos. It's like that donkey analogy you probably have heard of. Like for example, there's this scenario where the donkey, right, he was hungry to eat food and he also was thirsty to drink, but he couldn't decide which one he wanted to do. So in the end, he didn't pick a choice and he ended up dying from starvation and thirst. So it's like that analogy, and I feel that's what like a lot of people who like kind of always ask me the question, what's a good beginner camera? It gives me indication they're just scared of making mistakes, they're scared of failing in life, they're scared of like making a bad decision in life. And in my opinion, it's better to make a bad decision than making no decision, because at least when you make a bad decision, at least you learn from it. As if you don't make a decision, you're not going to get anywhere in life. You're going to have a lot of regrets. So because I think the problem with a lot of people who ask for a good beginner camera is that they kind of expecting like, oh yeah, I want this banger camera and I hope it will take banger photos all the time. But in my opinion, you got to enjoy doing photography, alright? That's just what I think that's the thing. You got to have the passion of just taking photos. I think that's what you need right now, instead of just looking for a awesome camera that's going to solve your problems. Because if you just taking photos for the sake of, oh yeah, I just want good photos and all of that, well, yes, that is true, but I think you just got to enjoy the process of taking photos. I think that's the key right now. Enjoy the process of taking photos. And yeah, like even like for right now, even if I don't my Sony a6400 camera, my first camera, I was taking photos on my phone, you know. And I remember one time when I was up, when my kit lens broke and I couldn't take photos on my camera, I was going out my local and taking photos on my phone and doing like, I don't know, like local street photos. In my opinion, like I think right now what you want to do is develop the skills, like develop the skill of taking photos, like understand like composition, the basics, and then learn how to edit your photos, such as you can use like Adobe Lightroom or Snapseed. So yeah, I think that's the end of the video. I hope you learned something about and also if you still can't decide, just pick a camera. Just pick any camera and just go with it. And by then you'll fucking understand how a camera works, and then your photography will start improving. So yeah, anyways, bye.